I exercised my pontificate for several weeks. Of what did it consist? Well, I was something like a group leader or the secretary of a cell. The others, in any case, even those who lacked faith, got into the habit of obeying me. Dugas Glenn was suffering. I administered his suffering. I discovered then that it was not so easy as I thought to be a pope. And I remembered this just yesterday after having given you such a scornful speech about judges, our brothers. The big problem in the camp was the water allotment. Other groups, political or sectarian, had formed, and each favoured his comrades. I was consequently led to favour mine, and this was a little concession to begin with. Even among us I could not maintain complete equality. According to my comrades' condition or the work they had to do, I gave an advantage to this one or that. Such distinctions are far-reaching, you can take my word for it. But decidedly, I'm tired. I no longer want to think of that period. Let's just say that I closed the circle the day I drank the water of a dying comrade. No, it wasn't Dugas Glenn. He was already dead, I believe, for he stinted himself too much. Besides, had he been there, out of love for him, I'd have resisted longer, for I loved him. Yes, I loved him, or so it seems to me. But I drank the water, that's certain, while convincing myself that the others needed me more than this fellow who was going to die anyway, and that I had a duty to keep myself alive for them. Thus, mon cher, empires and churches are born under the sun of death. And in order to correct somewhat what I said yesterday, I'm going to tell you the great idea that has come to me while telling all of this, which I'm sure now I may have lived or only dreamed. My great idea is that one must forgive the Pope. To begin with, he needs it more than anyone else. Secondly, that's the only way to set oneself above him. Did you close that door thoroughly? Yes? Make sure, please. Forgive me, I have the bolt complex. On the point of going to sleep, I can never remember whether I shot the bolt or not. And every night I must get up to make sure. One can be certain of nothing, as I've told you. Don't think that this worry about the bolt is the reaction of a frightened householder. In the old days, I didn't lock my apartment or my car. I didn't lock up my money. I didn't cling to what I owned. To tell the truth, I was a little ashamed to own anything. Didn't I occasionally, in my general conversation, exclaim with earnestness, "Property, gentlemen, is murder"? Not being sufficiently big-hearted to share my wealth with a deserving poor man, I left it at the disposal of eventual thieves, hoping thus to correct injustice by chance. Today, moreover, I possess nothing. Hence I am not worried about my safety, but about myself and my presence of mind. I'm equally eager to block the door of the closed little universe of which I am the king, the pope, and the judge. By the way, will you please open that cupboard? Yes, look at that painting. Don't you recognise it? It is The Just Judges. That doesn't make you jump? Can it be that your culture has gaps? Yet if you read the papers, you would recall the theft in 1934 from the St. Bavon Cathedral at Ghent of one of the panels of the famous Van Eyck altarpiece, The Adoration of the Lamb. That panel was called The Just Judges. It represented judges on horseback coming to adore the sacred animal. It was replaced by an excellent copy, for the original was never found. Well, here it is. No, I had nothing to do with it. A frequenter of Mexico City, you had a glimpse of him here the other evening, sold it to the gorilla for a bottle one drunken evening. I first advised our friend to hang it in a place of honour, And for a long time, while they were being looked for throughout the world, our devout judges sat enthroned at Mexico City, above the drunkards and the pimps. Then the gorilla, at my request, put it in custody here. He balked a little at doing so, but he got a fright when I explained the matter to him. Since then, these worthy magistrates form my sole company. At Mexico City, above the bar, you saw what a void they left. Why did I not return the panel? You have a policeman's reflex, you do. Well, I'll answer you as I would the state's attorney, if it could ever occur to anyone that this painting had come to rest in my room. First, because it belongs not to me, but to the proprietor of Mexico City, who deserves it as much as the Archbishop of Ghent. Secondly, because among all those who filed past the adoration of the Lamb, no one could distinguish the copy from the original, and hence no one is wronged by my misconduct. Thirdly, because in this way I dominate. False judges are held up to the world's admiration, and I alone know the true ones. Fourth, because I thus have a chance of being sent to prison, an attractive idea in a way. Fifth, because those judges are on their way to meet the Lamb, because there is no lamb or innocence any longer, and because the clever rascal who stole the panel was an instrument of the unknown justice that one ought not to thwart. Finally, because this way everything is in harmony. Justice being separated once and for all from innocence, the latter on the cross and the former in the cupboard. I have the way clear according to my convictions. With a clear conscience I can practice the difficult profession of judge penitent, in which I have set myself up after so many blighted hopes and contradictions. And now it is time, since you are leaving, for me to tell you what it is. Allow me first to sit up so that I can breathe more freely. Oh, how weak I am. Lock up my judges, please. As for the profession of judge penitent, I am practicing it at present. Ordinarily, my offices are at Mexico City, but real vocations are carried beyond the place of work. Even in bed, even with a fever, I am functioning. Besides, one doesn't practice this profession, one breathes it constantly. Don't get the idea that I talk to you at such length for 5 days just for the fun of it. No, I used to talk through my hat quite enough in the past. Now my words have a purpose. They have the purpose, obviously, of silencing the laughter, of avoiding judgment personally. There is apparently no escape. Is not the great thing that stands in the way of our escaping it the fact that we are the first to condemn ourselves? Therefore, it is essential to begin by extending the condemnation to all, without distinction, in order to thin it out at the start. No excuses, ever, for anyone. That's my principle at the outset. I deny the good intention, the respectable mistake, the indiscretion, the extenuating circumstance. With me, there is no giving of absolution or blessing. Everything is simply totted up, and then it comes to so much: you're an evildoer, a satyr, a congenital liar, a homosexual, an artist, etc. Just like that. Just as flatly. In philosophy, as in politics, I am for any theory that refuses to grant man innocence, and for any practice that treats him as guilty. You see in me, Trecher, an enlightened advocate of slavery. Without slavery, to tell the truth, there is no definitive solution. I very soon realised that. Once upon a time, I was always talking of freedom. At breakfast, I used to spread it on my toast. I used to chew it all day long, and in company my breath was delightfully redolent of freedom. With that key word, I would bludgeon whoever contradicted me. I made it serve my desires and my power. I used to whisper it in bed in the ear of my sleeping partners, and it helped me to drop them. I would slip it, but steady. I'm getting excited, losing all sense of proportion. After all, I did on occasion make a more disinterested use of freedom, and even, just imagine my naivety, defended it 2 or 3 times without, of course, going so far as to die for it. But nevertheless, taking a few risks. I must be forgiven such rash acts. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that freedom is not a reward or a decoration that is celebrated with champagne, nor yet a gift, a box of dainties designed to make you lick your chops. Oh no, it's a chore, on the contrary. A long-distance race, quite solitary and very exhausting. No champagne, no friends raising their glasses as they look at you affectionately. Alone in a forbidding room, alone in the prisoner's box before the judges, and alone to decide in face of oneself or in the face of others' judgment. At the end of all freedom is a court sentence. That's why freedom is too heavy to bear, especially when you're down with a fever or are distressed or love nobody.